Today I'm going to be going over Wuthering Waves and the basics of how to play the game and how to progress your characters and everything like that. I know that not everyone plays gacha games, and Wuthering Waves just had a new anniversary, so I want to go over the basics to help new players out and maybe help returning players that haven't played in a while, which in turn will help you progress faster and get more resources and pull for your favorite waifus, which is the most important part, obviously. Speaking of waifus, I want to talk about the basics of how you get them and who you should pull for. Starting out, there's a thing called the convene, which is basically the gambling system of this game. And I know gambling sounds bad, but unless you don't spend money on the game or you don't spend a lot, like you're a light spender, you should be fine. If you have a problem gambling, do not play this game. With the convene, you can spend astrites, which is basically this game's premium currency. You can get this through exploration, doing quests, and leveling up and other things like that. You get a ton of astrite from just playing the game normally. And you can use this astrite to pull for characters. You can do up to 80 pulls and you get a guaranteed 5-star character. The catch to getting a 5-star character is that there's a 50-50 chance that you get the character that's on the banner and a standard character, which is usually way worse, to be honest. You kind of have to be lucky twice in a row. You have to get lucky of not wasting all your pulls, and you have to get lucky with the coin flip. But when you do, it does feel nice, I can't lie. And there is a lot of astrite out there through exploration and doing quests and events and things like that. So it's not terrible. You can still make it work. I've lost a 50-50 before and I still had enough left over to get another character. So it's not really the worst that could happen, but it does suck, and you will have to tailor your next few pulls in the future around that. So if you're wondering who to pull for, I would recommend checking out Proden. They have tier lists and guides on every character and the synergies and echoes and different characters that work with them. So if you're ever confused or have any questions about that, I would definitely go check them out. The next thing that I want to talk about is signature weapons. They're very similar to characters, except they don't have a 50-50 mechanic. So if you pull for a signature weapon, you're guaranteed to get it. So once you see that little gold arrow shooting up, that's when you know you have a signature. And actually, I talked about it in my last video, but I got 2 gold signatures in one pull, which is absolutely crazy. I kind of just want to mention that. I don't know why I had to mention it. I just felt like I needed to. And maybe if you want to watch that video, you can. I'll probably have it linked in the description or have it at the end of this video. Anyways, the next thing that I want to talk about is character progression. And this is important because if you don't have strong characters, there's no point in pulling them, you know what I mean? So basically, there's a thing called the union level. And once you reach a certain level, you get to upgrade your soul phase level. And that determines how high you can progress with your characters and the rarity of your materials that you can get. The best way to farm union levels would be to do the main quest. That gives a ton. Also doing exploration and events will also give you a lot. Doing dailies especially. Over time, that'll all rack up. You'll get a lot of union experience. So I would recommend doing that, especially if you're new. To just get your character's levels up. Or once you level up a character to their max, you can ascend them, and you have to use specific materials and specific flowers that can be found around the world or farmed in these like little dungeons, and you can use that to help progress your character and make them stronger. And once you max out your character's level, I'd recommend working on their skills. Skills help balance out their stats and help them deal more damage. All characters have like their signature skill that help them it's like a quality of life thing for their fights. I'll probably show it on screen. It's like specific things that'll help them in battle to make it a little bit more easier to use them and to boost their stats. And there's also their weapons, which I mentioned the signature weapons earlier, but basically what weapons do is they help raise a main stat of your character and help buff them in a specific way so that they can get the stats that they want to get to deal more damage. If you don't have a good signature weapon, or if you don't really have the best weapon in general, you could balance that out by using echoes. And echoes are basically Pokemon, but for this game, they're like Pokemon and gear mixed. So you catch these Pokemon, and then you equip them to your character, and it boosts their stats, and it can help balance them out. So if you have like really good crit rate, but you have terrible crit damage, you could get an Echo that has a main stat crit damage, and it could balance out the crit rate to crit damage ratio, which would be really good and help you output a lot more damage. Yeah, they also have different sets, so kind of like different typings in Pokemon, it kind of the same principle applies. But the sets also have different buffs. So if you equip them to certain characters, it can really help. There's also a thing called the databank, which is basically the Pokedex of this game. It lets you catch different rarities depending on your level. Starting at level 1, I'm pretty sure you start with green echoes, and then as you progress, you go to blue, and then purple, and then gold. And gold's the maximum. And level 21 is when you get guaranteed golds every time an echo drops. And that's exactly what you want, because gold echoes are the best. I would wait to level up echoes until you can get them up to 25 and they're gold. You can level up some echoes, like maybe the purple or blue ones when you first start out, but I wouldn't go anything like crazy, like farming them or anything. I would mainly just try to explore and get the databank level up by exploring and catching more echoes in the overworld. You can also use the Pokédex, or index is what it's called in the game, to help you find these echoes and to track them down and raise your databank level. Because every new echo you catch, and the higher the rarity of that echo, the more experience you get for the databank. And eventually that all compounds on each other and it gets really easy towards the end. And they've added so many new echoes to the game that you don't have to catch all of them to have a level 21 databank. Used to, when the game first came out, you would have to farm all the echoes and get them all gold. But now you only have to do that for maybe like 1/3-ish maybe. Another way to farm echoes is by using wave plates. And basically wave plates is this game's energy system, and you get 240 per day, and there's a reservoir, and you can get up to 480 in that reservoir. And you can spend those wave plates on character materials and weekly challenges, which will raise the stats of your skills, and on tacit fields, which give you rerolls for your substats, and it helps you level up your echoes. It gives you those little tubes. I wouldn't recommend doing tacit fields until you can guaranteed get gold echoes, because it won't be worth it to have like purple or blue or green echoes. They just won't give us good stats, and you'll be wasting your wave plates, which you could be using on building a team or building a single character. I would just focus on getting the databank level up, and then focusing on your character, getting them maxed out, and then maybe building a team around that one maxed out character, rather than trying to focus on echoes and getting them perfect, but then having to trash them because they're like green and you need to have gold ones. You know what I mean? That's what I would mainly focus on as a new player. Another thing I would focus on is exploration, which is kind of huge. It gives you a ton of astrite, depending on the area and depending on where it's at. That's at least what I've experienced before. It could be more or less. I'm not 100% sure. I just know it does give a decent amount of rewards. And there's really 3 different ways to max out all the exploration. You can either just raw dog it and use all of the in-game utility, like the loot mapper, the sensor. There's pros and cons to doing this. It is fun to do, especially when you have a loot mapper out. You see like 50 different chests in one area. That is like a little bit of a dopamine spike, at least for me. But then if you accidentally miss one, or the loot mapper like doesn't pick up on something, because sometimes that does happen. I'm not too sure if it's intentional or not, but I've had that happen before. And I couldn't find a chest, and I was at 99% exploration, and I was stuck like searching the map for hours trying to find this one thing. It was really annoying. If you trust yourself and you really think you could do it, I would recommend doing it. It is a lot of fun, and you get to use all the in-game stuff, which is kind of cool. The next method would be to use an online map, which would be really nice because you get a visual representation of what's on the map, so you can see everything, and you can also mark it off on that map and see what you've done and see what you haven't done, which is kind of cool. It does take a lot of the exploration kind of out of it, but you will be able to get it done faster, but you will have to manually mark it off. And not all interactive maps are made the same. If you don't really feel like switching tabs back and forth or switching from monitor to monitor, but it is one way to do it if you already have like half of an area explored or something like that, and you just want to see what the other half looks like and where everything is. And the final method, and which is probably the most efficient but also the most boring, is just looking up a guide on YouTube that has like 100% exploration. Usually those are like, depending on the area, be like maybe 30 minutes to 45, maybe an hour. Not all guides are made the same, so if you don't really feel like watching somebody else do it and following it along, because I know that can be kind of boring, I would use the other 2 methods. But this method, I will say, it does guarantee that you will get 100%, because you'll be following step by step of what they do, and you'll see everything, which is kind of nice, especially if you're stuck on certain puzzles or things like that, or if you have to do certain quests in certain areas. It is really nice to see how to do that. Don't get me wrong, I've done that plenty of times. Just to recap all that, because I know it was a lot of information at once. First off is Convene, or the warp system, or whatever you want to call it. The gambling system. In 80 pulls, you're guaranteed to get a character, and sometimes it can be the one you want, sometimes it can be a standard one. That doesn't apply to the weapons, which you'll always get guaranteed. And character progression, level up your characters, work on leveling up your weapons, your skills, and your echoes. And for echoes, focus on databank level, get that up first, and then once you get gold echoes, level them up, get good base and substats, and you'll be good. Wave plates, I would recommend saving them on your character and not doing tacit fields until you get gold echoes. One more thing that I want to add that's kind of a bonus is I would wait to use a solvent which refills your energy gauge, because in the beginning you'll be farming low tier mats, which won't be as good as when you're maxed out and you can farm gold mats and purple mats, which will take your character progression a lot further than using it early and wasting it. Take that with a grain of salt. If you really want to progress faster, you could do that, but if you want to save it and get more value out of it later, you can do that too. I'm not your dad, so you can do whatever you want. Lastly, I want to talk about exploration. If you want to be most efficient, I would do YouTube videos. If you want to have kind of a more hands-on experience, I would use the online map. And if you really just want to do it completely honest and not see anything, I would just use the loot mapper and the in-game things like that. Anyways, that's all I have for today. I appreciate you for staying to the end. Don't forget to like and subscribe, especially if you made it this far, and I'll see you in the next video.